Okey, Alhamdulillah kembali bersiaran dalam webinar penulisan artikel jurnal berimpak tinggi siri 2. Okey, terima kasih sebab masih setia bersama kami dan kita akan terus kepada untuk mendengar perkongsian daripada panel kedua kita iaitu Profesor Madya Dr. Asma Abdul Rahman. Sebelum tu saya nak kongsikan sedikit tentang latar belakang Prof. Asma yang mana Prof. Asma merupakan bekas graduat ijazah sarjana muda syariah dan ekonomi dari Universiti Malaya. Kemudian melanjutkan pengajian sarjana dan ijazah Doktor Falsafah dari Jabatan Syariah Ekonomi Universiti Malaya. Untuk makluman, Dr. Asma juga merupakan penilai tetap bagi beberapa buah jurnal berimpak tinggi, antaranya ialah Botanica Journal of Social Science and Humanities, International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management, Social Indicators Research, Journal of Malaysian Studies, Malaysian Journal of Economic Studies dan Jurnal Pengurusan. Dan sekarang Prof. Madya Dr. Asma berkhidmat sebagai pensyarah kanan di Jabatan Syariah dan Ekonomi Akademi Pengajian Islam Universiti Malaya. Jadi tanpa melengahkan masa, saya mempersilakan Prof. Madya Dr. Asma untuk memulakan sesi perkongsian berkenaan tips dan strategi penulisan artikel jurnal bahagian 2. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih kepada Puan Pengerusi Dr. Syaimak, dan saya juga mengucapkan berbanyak terima kasih kepada Akademi Pengajian Islam Contemporary UiTM Johor yang telah menjemput saya untuk berkongsi tentang penulisan artikel jurnal dari perspektif reviewer. Saya mohon izin untuk share perkongsian saya ini dalam bahasa Inggeris kerana saya telah menyediakan slide saya dalam bahasa Inggeris supaya lebih mudah untuk saya go through. So, Alhamdulillah, I believe that previous session, Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi has shared with all of you on the publication with Scopus Journal. So, for this session, I hope all the participants still can bear with me, okay, to listen to my experience, not only as the reviewer, but also as the author for the Scopus Journal. So I think all of us here, I believe that we are looking to contribute in terms of publishing in the Scopus Journal. And it takes a lot of work, okay, to achieve this objective. Okay, so let me share this session with my personal experience, because I think to listen to the substance of what will be the content of the article, maybe Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi has shared previously, but for this session, I try to bring my personal experience, because I think all of us actually struggle, okay, in terms of achieving this objective, but if we keep on trying, inshallah we can success in publish with Scopus Journal. So the presentation would be this outline of my presentation, what would be the potential Scopus Journal, but I believe Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi has shared with you on this, also on the writing the article, the submission process, the reviewing process, and also how to deal with the reviewer's comment. Okay, so, but before I go further, I would like to bring us to ponder a little bit on why we do research and why we publish. Because I think when we have a correct motivation and reason why we want to publish with Scopus Journal, whereby we have another avenue, we have like UiTM journals, we have journals which are not being indexed by Scopus, but why we want to publish with Scopus Journal, which most of them are international journal. But in general, why we publish? So for me, this was my thinking. Okay, when it became my motivation, why I want to take this effort to publish with international journal, especially Scopus Journal. So we know that as a Muslim, okay, we always listen to this, okay. Idza mata ibnu Adam in qata'a anhu illa min salasatin. Okay, so one of them is ilmun yuntafi'u bihi. So being a lecturer, I believe that yes, when we give lecture and even if we give like ceramah out there outside our class, our lecture room, we have been sharing our knowledge with others, and maybe others have get benefit from the knowledge that we shared with them. But we want to take a step further, whereby we want our knowledge to be shared with international reader. So by publishing in international journal, especially Scopus Journal, I mean, we can achieve this objective. Ilmun yuntafi'u bihi. We can share the knowledge that we have, the research that we have been doing with wider readers, international readers, which not only Malaysian readers, but also readers all around the world. And since today we are talking about publishing with the scope of Islamic economics, Islamic finance, muamalat. So Malaysia being one of the leading country in the development of Islamic economics and Islamic finance, so many can be shared with international readers. And also another hadith which is balighu anni walau ayah. So again, yes, we give lecture, we share with our students, but we want to go internationally so that whatever that we are sharing with our readers reach a wider and international readers. Okay, and this perspective I bring to all of you today because I still remember when I did my master's way back in 1990s, when the usage of internet and even there's no Wi-Fi that time. Okay, so I have been struggling to search for articles and books about Islamic economics and Islamic finance from Malaysian perspective. And we can access certain books, certain journals, but many are being contributed by the scholars not from Malaysia, but from, for example, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from Saudi. But to understand the Malaysian scenario is quite difficult at that time, in 1990s, and at that time also Islamic finance at the infancy stage in Malaysia when Bank Negara allow scheme perbankan tanpa faedah at that time. But in terms of reaching to the academic work in the journal, so I think that's not much at that time. So I think I also asking, I mean, myself at that time, okay, where does the voice from the Malaysian scholars? Okay, so that's why I think if we now, with all the platform, with the internet, with all the online platform, if we can contribute, then we can share the knowledge with international scholars, with international readers. Okay, it can also will become one of our contribution. Okay, and other than that, it would be an avenue for us to share our thoughts and our ideas, because sometimes we disagree with the ideas that being shared by other scholars. So sometimes we say, no, this not happen in Malaysia. It's not like this. In Malaysia, it's different. So rather than just read others' article and we have our own conversation saying that, no, it's not like this. In Malaysia, it's nothing like this. We share our thoughts and our ideas in terms of publication. Okay, so this is our contribution. And then if we successful in publish with Scopus Journal, it also will become our personal achievement. I think once you get published in Scopus Journal, maybe you have a dream Scopus Journal that you want to get published. It become a motivation for you. It become a personal achievement, which then will boost your confidence and also will encourage you to do more research, to publish more in Scopus Journal. And of course, when you publish in Scopus Journal, it provide you the possibility, okay, to interact with other scholars internationally. You become visible internationally. So it's not only people in Malaysia or scholars in Malaysia or students in Malaysia who will read your work, but also internationally. So maybe scholars from Indonesia, from Saudi, from Iran, from Turkey, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, who will read your work and get to know you, can know you, who you are based on the article that you publish. So you become visible. And this is important because of, I believe now, with the agenda of internationalization, which is not only, not only in certain university, but I believe all universities are looking for internationalization. So to get internationalization, collaboration and networking, people know us based on our research, based on our publication. Okay, so we do not go and tell the people that who I am just based on our story, but based on our publication. Our publication speak out who we are at international level. And then of course, this is the obligatory requirement when university asks us to publish with Scopus Journal. And I believe nowadays all universities are looking into this agenda, which all the lecturers have to publish with Scopus or WOS journal, which in line with the internationalization agenda, and also if the university are looking for the ranking or to increase the ranking. Okay? But this is not only in Malaysia, but internationally all the universities are working on this aspect. Okay, all the universities are encouraging their lecturers to publish in international journal. Okay, so with this, okay, this will become my personal motivation, and I share this with all of you, which I believe maybe you also have this perspective, okay, but I put this as one of the agenda wherever that I talk about publication. Okay, and I think the most important thing is for me is about our religious teaching, okay, which is we want to get reward from our work. It not just to fulfill our obligation or just to fulfill the university requirement. So me personally, starting to go and find the avenue to publish in international journal, it started back then when started to go for internationalization. And in year 2009, okay, when we see back then, I think Professor Dr. Rafiq Salim back then, okay, in year 2009, I was a young lecturer, okay, but I take that direction from the university as one of positive direction. So we try to publish, and back then, I was so naive. I don't have a mentor to give me or to guide me which journal that I can go and submit my article. It based on like just try and error. We just try, we look into the journal that have the possibility or that has published previously articles about Islam. So we look at the journal and then we try our luck. Just try our luck without understanding anything, just submit the article. Okay, and then so this is an example of what I have submit to the journal. So one of them is an Indonesia in the Malay world. Okay, and when I submit this article, then like few days, I get rejection. Okay, so the journal said, okay, thank you for submitting your article to Indonesia in the Malay world. Although it looks like a stimulating piece of work, Indonesia in Malay world does not publish on contemporary economic, and so we are unable to accept it. Okay, so this is an example of how ignorant I am when I publish the article to the journal without looking into the scope of the journal, because the journal does not accept this kind of article. Okay, and then I try and send another one. Okay, this is to Journal of Asian History. Okay, so this article is about the concept of wakaf and the application in an Islamic insurance product, the Malaysian experience. So similar response from the journal, whereby the journal said, okay, the topic does not fit our publication profile. It deals with immediate past and present. It is not enough history. So again, the article does not fit, okay, the scope of the journal. And then I submit to another one, similar response. The articles does not fit with the journal. So this is one of the mistakes when we, as a young lecturer or inexperienced author, we just submit our article for the sake of submitting without understanding the journal itself. So it's quite common to get outright rejection, okay? Meaning the journal does not send the article for the reviewer. It's not the comment from the reviewer yet. This is only the comment from the management of the journal that whereby they reject because the article is not within the scope of the journal. So that's why when we want to submit, we have to look carefully which journal that we want to submit. So what we can consider or what would be the consideration. So maybe when we want to submit to the Scopus journal, besides looking into the scope of the journal, we also have to look into who is the publisher of the journal. Is it the publisher is reputable publisher, or is it ambiguous publisher or not trusted publisher? Is it the journal will be accepted freely, or is there fee charged to us, or does the journal has a hybrid mode of publication, whereby if for the hybrid publication, meaning the journal allow you to pay certain fees and your article being made available to the readers without the library have to subscribe to the journal. Okay, so it depends. I mean, it depends. But for me, I would go, I mean, there are many journals which accept and it's free, we don't have to pay, okay? But nowadays, even local Scopus journal, they now charge certain fee, but for Malaysian Scopus journal, the fee that they charge is quite reasonable. I mean, within our budget that still we can pay. But for international journal, for example, with Emerald or Springer, the charge would be like 1,700 euro to how much in ringgit. Okay, but if you have the grant and the grant allow you to have a specific budget for publication, so then you can choose that journal. Other than that is frequency of publication. So the journal that you may consider is also, you can look into how many issues the journal publish in a year. Does the journal only publish once a year? So if the journal only publish once a year, and for example, even though it's once a year and there are only like 10 articles, the competition is very high. So the possibility that we will not be accepted is very high, but still we can try. But I mean, the frequency of the journal is one of the factors. But most of the journal, they will publish twice a year or 4 times a year. But nowadays there are Scopus journal that I share after this that publish 10 issues a year. So when they publish 10 issues a year, even though we are competing with international authors from Iran, from Turkey, from Malaysia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, US, Saudi, Philippines, Indonesia. So even though we are competing with other scholars, but since the journal is publishing more issues, so the probability that we will be accepted is higher compared to the journal which only publish twice or thrice a year. So this also will be one of the considerations. This is my personal way of looking at the possible journal. And then which journal that have published articles that relate to Islamic economics, Islamic banking, finance, and muamalat. So there are lots of journals. So which one that we want to choose? Okay. So one way of looking into possible journal is for me, I will look into the Scopus database. Okay. So you can go to your library. So I think all the library, they subscribe to scopus.com. So when you go, when you sign in, then you can search from this database to get the perspective of which journal, what topic that has been published, the author from which country. So to get the feeling. Okay, so this in I have taken from Scopus. So from Scopus, then we can write here, okay, article, title, abstract, keyword, and then we can put the keyword that we want to search. So for example, I put the keyword like Islamic banking, wakaf, zakat, muamalat. So whatever keyword that we want to search, which then reflect our own research. Okay, so for example, our research is about zakat. So we want to know which journal previously has published articles about zakat. And what are the scope? And what are the nature? What are the issues that have been published about zakat by this Scopus journal? So when we put in this, okay, when we insert in this Scopus database, then when we do this research, okay, so I've done this. So for example, I insert the word Islamic banking. Okay, so there are nearly 2,719 articles that have been published in the journal that has been indexed by Scopus. Okay, and from this list of articles, okay, we can see here the source, which is the journals, which journals that have published. Okay, so I'll bring you after this of this journal, so, but I just to give perspective first. So when we look at what are the subject area of the journal that publish article which have Islamic banking in the title or in the keyword or in the abstract. Okay, so this is the list, 2,719. Okay, and it being published in various subject area, in not only in like social science and humanities, but also in computer science, engineering, environmental science, multidisciplinary, energy, so various subject area. So how the author has positioned the article by linking with Islamic banking. So to know exactly the topic of the article, of course you have to go through to this list, okay, that I want to give you the broader perspective. And then this is among the top journal which has published article which have the title Islamic banking or the word Islamic banking in the keywords or in the abstract. So the most highest or the top journal that published about Islamic banking is International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management, which is published by Amaral, Journal of Islamic Marketing, Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, Journal of King Abdul Aziz University, Islamic Economics, and then Humanomics. So Humanomics now has changed their name to International Journal of Ethics and System. Bank and Bank System, ISRO International Journal of Islamic Finance. So ISRO, their journal also now being managed by Emerald, Pacific Basin Finance Journal. So these among the top journal. There are also other journal, various journal, okay, but we can check the details here. Okay, but this is among the top journal that publish article relating to Islamic banking. And if I put or I search the keyword of takaful, okay, because you your own self, I mean, when you want to publish, you put the keyword that, I mean, when you want to search, okay, what article that you are doing, I mean, what research that you are doing, what article that you are going to write. So you find this possible journal by looking into the journal that publish the article that has similar with your article. Okay, so if I put the word takaful, so again we can see that the similar journal, which is Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, Journal of Islamic Marketing, so which also publish about Islamic banking, and then International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management. This is among the top 3, and also ISRO journal, Jurnal Penulisan. So Jurnal Penulisan is journal which is published by UKM, and then Arab Law Quarterly, okay, which is published by Braille, is Asian Journal, Social Science, Ashajarah, IIUM Journal. Okay, so this is possible journal that you can look into if your article is about takaful, so that you can learn from this journal what are the format of the article, okay, and what are the issues that have been discussed by the authors. So this is about wakaf. So this is among the top journal that publish about wakaf. So we can see like similar journal will emerge from this database, because this is among the journal that we publish articles within this scope. Okay, Journal of King Abdul Aziz, Journal of the Economic and Social History of the Orient. But this is more on the history. Okay, this is more on the history. This journal publish more on the history, especially the history of wakaf during the Ottoman Empire, wakaf during, I mean, the all, I mean the Islamic civilization, I mean the historical wakaf. And the intellectual discourse, Islamic law and society, ISRO. Okay, so similar, Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, and International Journal of Islamic and Middle Islamic Finance, Middle Eastern Finance and Management. And then for the word zakah, so we have to alert this. Okay, when you search for the word zakah, you can use the word zakah or zakat. Okay, so if you use the word zakah, you can see like quite few, like only 98 article that have been published. But when you use the word zakat, you can see there are actually many articles that have been published. Okay, so they also among the journal, okay, like quite similar with the previous journal. And then muamalat. So if you search the word muamalat, so this also among the journal that published about, that have the word muamalat either in the title, in the abstract, or in the keyword. Wakalah, so if you want to go based on the certain or specific contract in muamalat, so you can do so, and you can see which journal that have published. So this one I use the word wakalah, and then tawarruk, and then musyarakah. Okay, so this is the way that you want to find the possible journal that may match with your article, and possible that your article will be accepted. So for this journal that I mentioned earlier, among the top journal that publish article about Islamic economics, finance, muamalat. So this is the journal which is published by Emerald. So this journal is not only indexed by Scopus, but it also indexed by WOS. Okay, so when this journal being indexed by WOS, is now becoming more, like more stringent or quite competitive, because previously it only been indexed by Scopus, and now it also being indexed by WOS, and they tend to choose best of the best, okay, from the contributions of the articles all around the world. Okay, so this Islamic Accounting and Business Research, this also by Emerald, and this one Journal of Islamic Marketing also by Emerald. Okay, so for all of this, it's free. Okay, you will not be charged any publication fee, except that if you choose to make your article open access, then you have to pay. So this is the hybrid model of the journal publication. But I think if the journal provide you the opportunity to publish freely, I think as an author, if this is our first attempt to publish in Scopus, I'm not sure, maybe this for me, we do not have to think about making our article open access if we don't have a budget. Okay, let it be available for those who or the library who subscribe for this journal, because our motivation or our objective is just to get published. Okay, because we don't want to spend much on the publication fee. And then another one is Arab Law Quarterly. Like I mentioned earlier, this is published by Brill. Okay. Arab Law Quarterly is my dream journal when I was a young lecturer. Okay. So this article, when I sent to the journal, okay, when the journal reject my article, okay, in year 2009, okay, so I sent to this journal, to Arab Law Quarterly. And why I say Arab Law Quarterly is my dream journal as a young lecturer, because at that time, I do not have a knowledge of which journal that I should submit, okay, to get published in international journal. But based on what I have been reading, many of the articles about muamalat being published by Arab Law Quarterly. Okay, and it's not only about muamalat. Arab Law Quarterly also publish other scope within the Islamic discussion. Okay, so it became my dream journal. I want to get published in this journal. Okay, so when my article being rejected in the previous journal, so I sent to this journal. And back then, okay, there's no online platform. We only submit the article through email. So when we submit the article through email, we cannot trace where or what are the stages of our article. Nowadays, we can submit article through online platform, and we can go into the platform, we can trace, we can see what are the stages of our article. Either our article has been sent, the editor-in-chief have go through our article, the article has been sent to the reviewer, what are the status. Now it's quite easy because all on the platform or online platform. But then it's only through email. So when I submit this article, my article that had been rejected by previous journal to Arab Law Quarterly through email, so I got no news. So I've been waiting, okay, for the progress of my article, but there's no communication. Okay, but Alhamdulillah, in year 2011, it like a year and a half, we get the good news, which is the article have been accepted by Arab Law Quarterly and being published. So this become my first success in publishing in the international journal. Not only international journal, for me personally, this is my dream journal because I've been reading others writing in the article in the journal. So when I get published. So it really boosts my confidence, my motivation. It's like, okay, I mean, if now I also have the quality like other authors from other countries, like other scholars all around the world. So that's become my motivation. And before this, I actually successfully published with Prof. Rahana Abdullah with Scopus Journal, which is in the Journal of Malaysian Journal of Library and Information Science. And it was a bibliometric study because Prof. Rahana is the editor-in-chief of Journal Sharia. I am the managing editor for Journal Sharia. And but in year 2009, Majlis or Malaysian Journal of Library and Information Science, which is published by this was also WOS journal. Okay, so as a young lecturer, and this success become like a starting point for me, okay, and an eye opener. I mean, to believe in our own, in my capability. So my sharing with all of you is that keep on trying, and you have to start. Okay, you have to start and keep on trying. If you're being rejected, never give up. Okay, try to improve the article. Okay, and keep on sending to another journal. Okay, we never know. Okay, which journal? Then we'll see and appreciate our work. Okay, and actually, besides the example that I've shown to you, we also have submit to various journal, and sometimes we get the feedback from the reviewer, because the journal editor sees the potential of the article and they send to the reviewer, and we get the feedback from the reviewer like 5 pages, and we would say, oh, it's like 1/3 with the comments from the reviewer is like 1/3 from our article. Very long, but many points that we can ponder, we can use to improve our articles. Okay, so accept that being rejected is the process. It's a process. Okay, I never heard anybody that have experience, okay, published in Scopus or WOS saying that I never been rejected. Okay, because rejection is a process. Okay, everybody are facing same experience. Okay, and take this as a positive, and then we improve our article before we submit to another journal. But so even though I've shown to you the journal that have potential, okay, to be submitted, and potential that your article being accepted, but please alert for journals which actually may or have been excluded from Scopus Index. Okay, so for example, if you search here, okay, you see the list of the articles, and the articles is similar with your research, and you are targeting this journal, but you have to do further research, either that journal still being indexed in Scopus, or the journal has been excluded from the Scopus Index. So these few journals that I've taken from the list which have been excluded from the Scopus Index. Okay, and this one also, and this one also. But there are others also. From the list that I shown to you, there are actually few also that being excluded from Scopus Index. Okay, so be aware on this, because we do not want that once our article being published, we think that this is Scopus journal, but further checking, we know that the journal has been excluded. And if you are publishing for the purpose of, being counted that publication for your promotion, okay, then it then you may disappointing. Okay, you may feel regret that you submit to this journal. Okay, so so on this, okay, you have to be careful on this. Okay, um, um, Madam Madam Chair person, if is there any question? I mean, I allow for any question if you have before I go to next slide. Is there any question from the participants? I think you have been listening to Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi's presentation previously. So I want more interaction with all of you rather than I just giving lecture on my own because it being like 3 hours already for all of you. So is there any question? Okay, yes.
Kita buka soalan kepada peserta yang ingin bertanyakan soalan kepada Profesor Dr. Asma. Silakan Profesor Madia. Siapa-siapa yang ingin bertanyakan soalan boleh. Silakan. Okey, kita ada soalan daripada saudara Hadnan. How to upgrade our English profession in journal writing? Silakan Prof.
Okay, so I'll touch on this after. Yeah, okay, on English, in English matter. Okay, so now, like I mentioned earlier, before submitting the article, you have to understand the journal guidelines. So whichever journal that you have chosen, please understand the journal guidelines. Okay, so for this journal that I mentioned earlier, so I mean, you can see, I mean, you can go to the journal website, okay, and understand the journal guidelines. Okay, like I have shown to you previously, if the scope of the journal is not within the scope of your article, I mean, you will get outright rejection. But other than that is, for example, if the requirement of the journal is that your article should be not exceeding 8,000 words. So don't submit your article if your article is 9,000 words, because the journal will see that you do not understand the requirement. Okay, so this is like just a simple requirement by the journal. Okay? The words count should not exceeding 8,000, so don't submit if more than 8,000. And certain journal only need the minimum of 3,000 words. So if your article is short, only 3,000 words, you can submit to this journal. Okay, so you have to read all the requirements. Okay, and not only the words, the scope, and also the citation. Okay, the citation style. Is it APA? Is it Harvard? Is it Chicago? I mean, which citation style? Okay, you have to follow the requirement of the journal. Okay, and other than that, how you present your table, if you had a table, your figures, and then the references, everything you can find in the journal website. Okay, so if I, for example, if I click here, it will bring us to the journal website. I'm afraid it may take a long time. Oh, sorry. I think it will not share the. Sorry, it will not share the screen. Okay, so I stick to my PowerPoint. Okay, and then so for another one, so this is example of the scope for Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. Okay, so this journal publish 10 issues per year. So this is what I mentioned. The possibility that you being accepted is higher if the journal publish more issues. Okay, and for this journal, they only issue 5 issues a year. Okay, And this is the scope of the journal. You can see clearly stated what are the scope of the journal. Okay. And then this is Journal of Islamic Marketing. I think they published, last year they published 6 issues, and this year they have published 7 issues. I'm not sure, maybe now Journal of Islamic Marketing has increased their publications, okay, the issues of the publication. So here also we can see what are the scope, okay, and also the guideline in the article writing. Everything is there, okay. And then this is Arab Law Quarterly. Okay, we have to go through and read all the general guidelines. Okay, so without understanding this, okay, then the possibility that our article being rejected, outright rejection, not because of the quality of the article, but because of the journal or the article that we are sending to this journal is not within the scope of the journal. Okay, so now if you have chosen the possible journal that you are targeting, okay, other than you look into the guideline of the journal, okay, you also have to download and read, okay, the articles that have been published in this journal. Take at least 20 articles, okay, understand how the article that being accepted in this journal, how the author present their issues, how the author present their argument, how the authors present their research method, the results, the discussion and everything. Okay, get familiar with the articles that being published in this journal. Okay. So article writing, okay, when you want to prepare the article writing, it actually start with a good research. So we never be able to write a good article without having a good research, because the article is a result from a good research. Okay, so to have a good research, we have to enhance our research skills. Okay, the skills, not only skills on the writing, but also skills on doing research. So there are various aspects of the skills that are needed in doing research. So for example, skills on research methodology. Okay, we must master this. Okay, so either you are doing research from or based on the qualitative approach, quantitative. So you have to master how to collect data. If your data collection is using questionnaire, so how to design the questionnaire, how you have to go through all the process. Yeah. So it's like we are doing our PhD. Okay, so that's the process. Okay. Except that if we have a research grant, then we will have our research assistant to help us. We have other members of the research project. We also then will contribute, okay, to the success of doing research. Okay, so it will be a good combination when you do a research that in your research team you have one member who can contribute in terms of research method. Okay, so if your approach is qualitative, so you have to master, okay, how to design the interview question. You have to have an interview protocol. Okay, so that's the skill that are needed. Okay, and also how to analyze data, either quantitative or qualitative. Okay, it has to be analyzed vigorously. Okay, and even for example for the questionnaire design, you have to do content, the validity of the questionnaire, content validity of the questionnaire. It's not like just a question. Okay, because I have experience that I review one article whereby from statistical point of view is look significant, but if we look into the details of the questions, if we look into the details of the questions, a few questions does not make sense to reflect the measurement of what being measured by the author. Okay, so it's it has to start with a good research. Okay. Other than that, we must also have to develop skill of using software for data analysis. Okay, either SPSS or AMOS or Smart PLS or NVivo, which one? And again, if you do not be able to master this, invite somebody who has expertise to become your research member for your project, because he or she then can help you to ensure that, for example, if you do the questionnaire, I mean, you collect data using questionnaire, when you want to analyze, is if you have more possibility to get published is if your analysis more advanced and the way that you analyze the data is coherent with the statistical requirement. And if we do not have this expertise, employ someone to help us. So don't like submit the article to the journal whereby we are not sure, we are not confident on the statistical analysis, for example, because it will be reviewed, and then even though if it being published, there will be another scholars who may criticize our findings, which are not valid, for example, from the statistical point of view. So it's very important. Okay. Other than, so I think being a lecturer, I mean, when we finish our PhD, it's not the end of our journey to learn. Okay, so me personally, after completing my PhD, I keep on attending various workshops, especially research workshop, being offered at to their lecturers. And other than that, I also have a mentor to help me and to guide me in mastering research methodology. Okay, so I have friends from Faculty of Business and also from Faculty of Economics. They introduced me with Amos, with Smart PLS, even though I do not master it like they mastering this software and also this analysis, but at least I have an exposure when people talk about this and when we want to use in our analysis. So I know a little bit, okay, what we are doing. Okay, so I get a mentor. I mean, I have a colleague that willing to teach me. So I still remember during my days as a young lecturers, okay, I spent hours, okay, learning from my mentor, okay. One that have a very significant influence to me is, I would mention her name, which is Dr. Sharifah Alwi. She was lecturer at the Faculty of Business from Department of Marketing, but now she moved to UK. I mean, she got an offer to teach in UK for many years, but she introduced me with a very good research methodology. She teach me. Okay, and then when she moved to UK, I find another mentor, which is Associate Professor Dr. Sabita American. She is one of the author of the research book. So I mean, I meet her and say to her, okay, I want to learn from you. Okay, please guide me. Okay, so I spend hours with her, attending. I mean, go to her room, learn from her. I analyze data using SPSS, and she guide me. So this is how I develop my research skill bits by bits. Okay, and when we become friends, okay, when we write article together, and also she then also she is more on quantitative, and then she also introduced me to explore more on qualitative. So when I still remember when there was a talk about qualitative research, which is more rigorous or doing qualitative. He asked me to attend the workshop, so we explore and then we learn. So this is a continuous process of learning and equip ourselves with all this knowledge. Okay, so at least we know what we are doing. And if we are not confident, we can get help from statistician or from other experts. Yeah. Other than this skill, we must also have the skill on the reference management. Okay, so at this stage, I think it's not a period, it's not anymore like a normal way of having reference that you have to insert the reference manually. Okay, whereby there are EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, and various software that can help you to manage your reference. Okay, not only that you have lots of reference, but to help you when you are writing, to cite and to put the citation accordingly, and which is make it easier for you if you have to change. Okay, so for example, you want to submit to one journal and the journal require APA, and then you can set APA in the article. And if the journal, the article been rejected, you want to submit to another journal, and this journal required, for example, Chicago style, you can set in the article automatically. So it's very important that we have this knowledge. Okay. And the last thing I think is also very important that we have a proper management storage of our data. Okay, this is why you face the problem of you are missing the data or your draft article is missing because you have misplaced or your computer is corrupted or because your computer have virus. Okay, and I have experienced this, I think 10 years back, when my hard disk was corrupted. So I lost everything in my hard disk. Like it's so difficult for me to find what was the previous data and everything that I have. Okay, so I learned my lesson. Okay, so then I go to the cloud storage. So you have to invest a little bit on this, but nowadays I think it's more convenient because our university has subscribed our journal with Google. So we have Google Drive. Okay, so it's up to you. Either you want to store in Google Drive, in Dropbox, iCloud, or any storage that is convenient to you. But my point is, store all your data, all your work, okay, properly so that you will not have the problem. And I think this also happened like many of the students when they have a problem when they are like their laptop is missing, their timeline is missing, then they have to do it again. So we as the lecturers, okay, even though we are not forced to submit article like students have to submit their thesis on time, but to have a proper management of our data and all our academic work, it's good that we have a proper management on this. Okay, so for article writing, so either is based on IMRAT and also the IBC model. I think this one, Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi has shared with you on this, the IMRAT style or like IBC model or IBC style, which is more, you have more freedom or whatever that you want to insert in your article. Okay, but I will touch a few points on this because I've been made understood that Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi has shared on this, but you can ask me later if there are any points that you want me to go further on this. Okay. So, this is the way, or this is the structure result and also the discussion. This is the suggestion, okay? And many articles being written based on this structure. And I think this is quite very more convenient to help us in preparing our articles. Okay? So when we prepare this, what will be, I mean, we know the formula. We know that it should have the title, the abstract, the introduction, but our problem is what would be the content and the substance to reflect the title, the abstract, the introduction, okay, and research method, okay. So these are some tips that I've taken from this article, which is also with minor input based on my own experience. So the title should be short and ambiguous, okay. Sorry. So easy to understand. Okay, contain keywords to describe the work. So when the reviewer or the editor-in-chief read the article, they may get an idea what can be expected from the article. The title give the direction to the reviewer what can be expected from the title. Okay, so the title is your communication with the reviewer and with your readers. Okay? And then it also may adequate description of the entire work, but in the title. Okay? And if we look few examples, okay, from the article that being published. So for example, challenges facing real estate mortgages in the Arabian Gulf region. So we know that when we read this article, what can be expected, the geography of the content of the article will be from Malaysia. We are not expecting, okay, the data from Malaysia. What will be the most point that will be discussed by the author about the challenges? Challenges on what? Real estate mortgages. So this is the title that reflects, okay, what will be the content of the article. So basically, when we prepare the article before final submission, you may have like 5 title or 10 title, but when you start to write the article, you may have the tentative title. You may put the title as a guideline for you, but when you have completing the whole article, you have to revisit the title again and rephrase the title to reflect the whole article. Okay? At the beginning, when you put the title, it only just a guidance for you as a guidance, what will be the direction of the whole article. Because title is reflect who or what are the main content of the article. So don't see title as simply put the title, but think of what will be the title that can reflect the whole article. I have experience whereby we submit the article, we get the review from the reviewers, so we do the revision, we submit, and then we the final comment from the journal that they accept the article, but the reviewer want us to change topic, the title. Like, and when the title have to be changed, few parts of the article has to be excluded from the article. Okay, And before we submit, we actually have working few titles. Okay, few titles. We have been rephrasing, we have been, to reflect the whole content of the article. But when we submit, finally the reviewer requests us, and also the editor-in-chief agree with the reviewer's comment. We have to change the article, the direction of the article. And with that changes, we have to exclude certain portion of the content of the article. So we have to follow when this is the requirement from the journal, as long as we think it is acceptable. Okay. And another topic is like, for example, this is the publication by Prof. Kabir, Tawarruk, controversial or acceptable. So this is like a catchy topic and a catchy title, which is me personally also like to have this kind of article, title, which is we give like a catchy title, okay, to attract the readers, okay. And another one is that legal maqasid syariah in financial reporting standard for Islamic financial institution. So by reading this, we know that this article dealing with accounting. Okay, so this will maybe from this title we know that it relate with the accounting, even though you see the big word here, maqasid syariah. So it's not article that discuss about maqasid syariah from the classical fiqh discussion, but how this then being discussed from the perspective of financial reporting from the accounting point of view. Okay, so this is the communication in the title. So this is another example. Also about this is about zakat. So this is about riba, prohibition of riba. Okay, and this one, knowledge and attitudes towards Islamic banking in the Philippines. So we know that many articles has been done about knowledge and attitudes in Malaysia. Okay, but these journals still publish this article. Why? Because this article contributing something new, which is in Philippine setting for Philippines. Okay, what were the knowledge and attitudes towards Islamic banking in the Philippines? So this new contribution, even though we can see many articles been done in Malaysia and also in other part of the world about knowledge and attitudes towards Islamic banking. So from this title, I also would like to bring you to pay attention about. So if we see here, there are scholars from various countries which are contributing in the Scopus Journal, even though they are talking about Islamic banking and finance. So like I mentioned earlier, this international journal, we may get connected, networking with other scholars when we publish in the same journal, whereby other scholars from all around the world are also published in this journal. Okay, so other than that, it's about authors. The authors is not only list of articles. It's not only you just put your name, your like Ahmad Muhammad Ibrahim. So it's not about listing of names. Authors, meaning it also reflect authorship. Okay, for me, it's very important that we understand this. Okay, authorship means not listing of article just for the sake of listing, meaning you are who are contributing in the developing of the articles. And for me personally, I would like to author an article that will reflect my scholarship, which reflect my expertise. So I also would like to encourage all of you to be an author to the articles that within your expertise. Because if you keep on writing within your expertise, you will build your scholarship. And when you are visible internationally, it go bit by bit. When you have like published many articles, okay, bit by bit, okay, you will become visible, and people can see or people can look into your scholarship based on your work. So rather than you publish like in this area, in that area, your name is in that area, in that area, in that area. So I think it's not really reflect your scholarship, because for me, I honor this. Okay, authorship with scholarship. Okay, and I learned this. Actually, I learned this from one renowned international professor. Again, this is my experience when I was a young lecturer, looking at avenue to publish internationally without having much exposure. So what I was thinking back then is there was in year 2009, we have a privilege to meet one renowned international professor, and he gave a talk. So I'm so amazed. I mean, all this while I have been reading his work. I've been reading his book, I've been reading his article, and now he come to Malaysia. So I listened to his talk, and I feel that I feel that I want to become a scholar that have this kind of this kind of scholarship. Okay, so I sent to him an email to get connected, to have collaboration. So okay, I do not know him personally before, so I sent him the email. But before this, we have been sending email. So I sent my article, which on about which has been published in Arab Law Quarterly previously. Okay, so I said that I touched you with an earlier draft of article that I wish to submit to the Journal of Islamic Studies. So Journal of Islamic Studies is journal that been published by Oxford University. When I read article in the Journal of Islamic Studies published by Oxford University, I know that it's very difficult to submit to that journal because it's very high quality of journals. The discussion is very, very high. I mean, I know that I cannot be able to do it on my own. So I was thinking that if I get help from this renowned professor, then maybe, okay, I'll be able to go and publish in this journal. So I said that to the professor, even though I know this article is so simple and does not achieve the level of your professorship, but I tried my best. Therefore, I ask your permission to put your name. See, I'm so naive. So I think, okay, just put your name and then you become the author. As a way to attract the editor of the journal. That was my thinking as a young lecturer back then. Okay, to get published, you put a professor's name. Okay, but I don't have an exposure back then. I hope you can give suggestion to improve this article so that it is publishable. Please give some comments and suggestion, Prof, and I work on it. So I'm so naive, so I sent this email to him. What is the reply from him? So I shared this, so I will not mention his name, but he is a very renowned professor, as I say, I mean, many of us know him. But I learned from him to honor the authorship and the scholarship. So Assalamualaikum, thank you for your message and copy of your paper. First, please do not put my name on the paper. Wakaf is not my area of expertise. So see, the professor said, don't put my name. It's not my area of expertise. I only publish in the area that I have, that is my expertise. Okay, I'm feel confident with my expertise and I will publish. Just a brotherly advice is not article to put someone's name on the article that you have written, okay, just to attract attention of the journal to be willing to publish your paper. But I'm so naive, I do not know, I don't have an exposure. So that was my thinking. things do not work that way. Journals have their own way of evaluating papers. They make judgment based on the content of the article, not who wrote it. Because that's why when we submit to the journal, it will be the blind review process. The reviewer will not know who are reviewing. The reviewer will not know whose article that we are reviewing or they are reviewing. Okay. Their reviewers and editors are the ones that make judgment whether an article is worthy of publication. When they send an article out for reviews, they first remove the names of the authors that the reviewer do not know who wrote the paper. Most certainly, putting someone's name on your article will not help its publication if the content is not worthy of publication. So here, one point is when we submit article to the journal, nowadays, okay, when we submit into the online platform, we are required to insert one article with our name, one article without our name. So please bear in mind on this, okay, because I have experienced that there are also young scholar when they submit the article, they put their name. And sometimes the journal will unsubmit and ask to resubmit because they do not want the names of the author appear in the article because it will be sent to the reviewer. Okay? So please do remove my name. So I get a second message, please do remove my name. Second, the person who is an expert is Professor Dr. Murad Chizaka in INSAF. And I suggest strongly that you should call him and get an appointment with him and request that he reads the paper and if he thinks it worthwhile to co-author it with you. So he said why is to contact Professor Dr. Murad Chizaka. So I shared this one after this, but please do not put my name on it. So another message to me, don't put my name. Third, at the moment, I am traveling and have no time to read your paper now carefully enough to be able to make comments. Even when I will be able to find time to read your paper carefully, I will have to do a lot of background research to be in a position to make only minor contribution to your paper. Because I said earlier, Wakaf is not my area of research. So here, this is the lesson that I learned, which is first, I have to work on my own, build my own scholarship, build my own writing skills so that I don't have to depend on others for me in order to get published. If still you want to get help from others, please make sure that your collaborator, your co-authors are the person who can contribute, and it's good that if the scholar is in the same area with your area. Okay. And so this is the lesson that I learned. Okay, so that's why for me, most of my article will be within my expertise, and within my expertise. If I want to have the to get published which are not really in my expertise, I have to put much effort. So the article that I shared with you just now about the bibliometric studies, which I published with Pro Raihana, is bibliometric is not really my expertise, but since we are managing the Jurnal Syariah, so we want to do the analysis of the development of the Jurnal Syariah. So we did that study. It took me near a year just for the sake of getting the data. Back then, manually, we did in Excel, we do extract all the article, the title from the journal manually. And I still remember, like, I spent like a year to do that. But it was when it being published. But yeah, I mean, we put an effort on that. But nowadays, with Mendeley and also Eno and all the software that are in the market that we can use. So it's more easier for us rather than doing what I've done 10 years back. Yeah. So he advanced, please do contact from Dr. Murad at INSEF and request that he reads your paper. All the best. Okay. But, you know, being a young lecturer, so when the professor say, okay, he cannot be the co-author with me because it's not his area, and also if he want to contribute, he will spend much time on this. So I'm so afraid then to go and ask from Murad Chizaka to read my paper. Okay, but I know that Prof. Murad Chizaka is one of the renowned professor that have been writing about wakaf. Okay, so for the purpose of this article, I do not contact Prof. Murad Chizaka, but when we do another research, we contact him for the purpose of getting more information from him when we want to do another research. So I share the deal on that. Yeah. So this is about the authorship. Okay, so again, for me, authors is not just list of authors, but it's about authorship, and authorship reflect your scholarship. Okay, do become the author if you feel confident that the article is within your scope and you want to be known by other scholars internationally and locally, the scholar in that area. Okay, and then Madam Moderator, how many minutes do I have? At what time I have to stop?
Prof ada masa dalam 15 minit lagi.
Okay. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, because when I see Dr. Fauzi's slides, I think I will share more on my personal experience rather than go into the detail of each of the section of the articles. Okay, so for the abstract, so for the abstract, it will be either the abstract will be structured abstract or non-structured abstract. So it depends on the journal. So for example, most of the Emerald journal, their abstract is structured abstract, meaning and they have certain component that you have to write according to their their structured abstract. Okay, but for other journal, it depends on us, but basically the important content that should be put in the abstract is about the purpose of the article, the research method, what will be the finding, and then what will be the direction for the future research. So, or the limitation. Okay, so this is basically the content of the abstract. So I think it's quite similar with the abstract for our thesis. Okay, and then for introduction and literature review, so for our articles, so certain journal, they have introduction, different section, literature review, different section, but certain journal, they combine introduction and also the literature review. Okay, so this is the important part that you will communicate with your readers. Okay, what will be your issue that you are going to write in this article. Okay, what was being written in the past? Okay, what was the gap? Okay, that's still not being touched by other scholars, and now you are filling the gap in your articles. Okay, so this is basically in the introduction. Okay, and also if your article is quantitative data, so you may have like the hypothesis in this section also. Okay. And then for research method, so like I mentioned earlier, based on your skills and what you are doing, what you have done when you are collecting data, so you have to tell everything here. You have to explain everything here. And certain journals, they also require that not only just the typical component of the research method, but also on the ethical approval. Okay, so this also something that we have to aware on this. Ethical approval is very important because sometimes when we did the interview, for example, we will say like A, B, C, D, or sometimes we mention the name. So it's very important that if we get the consent from the interviewees that uh, they want or they allow their name to be appeared. So otherwise, maybe we use like P1, P2, P3. Okay, so article approval is very important. And I think it's become like in UM, okay, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's become like now a normal requirement when we do a research. So even though for master and PhD student now, before they can collect data, they must get um, um, the approval from the ethics committee at UM. So there are a form that they have to fill up. They have to give there are certain questions that being asked, how they manage the data, who can access the data and all and everything. They submit to the this in UM, they will submit to the UM ethics committee. And if there are certain information that the ethics committee are not quite satisfied, they will ask us to elaborate more on this before they give the approval. Okay, so certain journal they want us to mention on this in the article. Okay, and other than that, it's very important that everything has to be clearly communicate with the readers, okay, on how data being collected, what is the sample, how the analysis been done, okay, how the instrument or the questionnaire being designed, validated, and all everything that is required, okay. And then for the results, so again, okay, this either your article is qualitative or quantitative, so you have to follow the way how the qualitative article presents the result and how the quantitative article present the results. Okay, so these have to be taken into account when we present the result and also discussion. So result and discussion, so certain journal, they have like result and discussion under one section. But certain journal, most of the journal, they have result, different section, discussion, different section. So here, when we discuss our result, we have to link back with the previous literature, with our theoretical framework. So it's very important to see the connection of what we are doing, the result with previous research. So that's why I would use the layman terminology that our result is communicating, okay, communicating with previous research. Okay, so this is the thing that we have to take into account when we discuss the discussion or the discussion part in our article. Okay, so for the conclusion, so then we will conclude our article based on a clear statement of principle of the finding, and also we discuss here what are further or what would be the suggestion, okay, for the research, okay, and what would be the important finding or our finding that can benefit the policymakers, the industry, the academia. Okay, so here, we discuss about this in this conclusion. And for citation and references, so like I mentioned earlier, either you follow APA or Chicago based on the requirement by the journal, you have to put a proper citation and you have to paraphrase to avoid too much that your journal will be seen as plagiarized, plagiat, okay, others' research. Okay, certain part you have to paraphrase. And when I say about proper citations, I want to mention about this. When we read others' article, make sure that when we take an idea, it's not only that we put a proper name in the article, but we actually have cited a proper gist of the idea from other researchers. In this, we have experience whereby we read others' article which cited our article. We say differently, but the author, when they cite our article, they understand differently. Okay, so then when we read this, I say, we don't say this, we say that, but the author wrongly cite what we have been saying in our article. So either our communication is not good enough, so it have been misunderstood by this author, or because this author do not understand it well based on what we have been written in our article. So we found this. So of course we cannot sue the author and say, okay, you wrongly cite me, okay. But I mean, we aware on this. So my sharing is like to avoid this, we have to be alert on what we are citing others. Can read carefully, understand carefully, and then you put the idea that you had taken from others, okay, accurately. And then for acknowledgement, most of the journal, they will ask for the acknowledgement. I mean, it is good that you put acknowledgement. So who you should acknowledge? So either the person that helped you in doing research, or in reading your article, but he or she does not meet the criteria to become the author. So I have experience, for example, I have a friend from Turkey. I asked her to read our article because it's about Ottoman, something about Ottoman. He is the historian, she is a historian, but because even though she is historian about the Islamic civilization, but because the subject matter of what we are writing is not really her expertise, so she gives suggestion, but she do not want to be the author because it's not her area of expertise. Because the subject matter is different, even though on the bigger picture is about Ottoman Empire. So then we put her contribution in our acknowledgement. Okay, other than that, it's about the funding, who give her the funding, and we put in this acknowledgement. Okay, so so before submission, I mean, you have prepare your article, you have to revise until you feel very confident, and the flow of idea, you feel like smoothly understood. You are not jumping from one paragraph to another paragraph. I mean, the flow of idea is coherent. It makes sense. Okay. Of course, you cannot submit, I mean, a perfect article which do not have any mistake, because we are not, I mean, it's not Quran which have no mistake when we are human being, but at least try our best. Okay, maybe there are a few drafts, spelling, grammar, sentence structure. But the most important thing is, before submit, make a habit to check the plagiarism element. You have to put in the turn it in, because we don't want that when we submit our article, the journal reject our article because of the higher of similarities with other work, which we know that in the turn it in, we can see how many percent the similarity of our article with others. Make a habit. So when you submit your article, which don't have any similarities with others, when you do the turn it in checking, I mean, you have the confidence that other than you have revised, you have checked everything, at least your article, which is something that, I mean, you consider that at least new, something new, okay, that may have possibility that the journal may consider, okay, to be sent to the reviewers. And then this is that I want to say, which is when we write for the International Scopus Journal, we have to ensure that the English is at the standard. We meet international merit, the quality of the English. Send to the professional English editor. And I think on this, yes, we publish, but we have to actually we have to, I would say we have to invest on this, okay? So make sure that sending to the English editor is a must. Don't send your article journal to any Scopus journal without getting professional English editors' help. Because we don't want that when we submit the article to the journal may reject our article upfront because of the quality of the English is very bad. Okay, so you have to make this as a habit. Okay, which editor, which English editor that you want to send. So on this, I also have experience like try sending to the English editor in Malaysia and also in other part of the world. I sent to the English editor in Malaysia, UK, I think India, and now I quite comfortable with my English editor in Australia. So, I mean, we have been working so many years. So, like sometimes, even though on a short notice, my English editor, I mean, try to help me. So, for example, because it's become a habit. If, for example, I apply for research grant, so if the research grant being written in English, even though there's no such requirement, still, I mean, I would ask my English editor to help me to improve the research proposal, I mean, the English of the research proposal, because we don't want that the quality of the English is very bad when it being evaluated by the reviewers, grant reviewers. Okay, so this one, and then submission process. So you can submit through online or email, but nowadays most of the journal are using online platform. So prepare a good email to the editor-in-chief. Okay, not just like my example previously, I just said, I want to submit this article to your journal, this is my topic. Okay, so he is encouraged that in the communication with the editor-in-chief, you stated what is the significance of the article. Okay, and then you have to upload and attach the relevant article, which the relevant file with your name and without your name. And also another requirement, for example, the bibliography of the authors. So when we submit, the journal may reject, outright rejection, or they may send for possible publication. For the best rejection, because you are not following all the journal's requirement, especially for the scope of the journal. So for the review process, okay, this is the role of the reviewer, which is actually to help the journal, okay, in determining that the article that being sent to the journal has met the quality of the journal. Okay, so being the reviewer myself and being the author myself, I think I always appreciate the comments from the reviewer. And me as the reviewer, sometimes I would give major correction, sometimes minor correction based on the quality of the article. And so, for example, if I give minor correction, the other reviewer say major correction, editor-in-chief will say major correction. Okay, and nowadays, the journal make us know what are the comments from another reviewer. So being the reviewer actually give us the opportunity to learn, okay, from the comment from the reviewer. So it also become one learning process for us also when we want to prepare our own article. So this is example of our article which being published in the in this WOS journal, and which is the Prof-based journal. So this is the comment from the reviewer. Okay, so there will be the two blind reviewer. So the way that most of the Emerald journal, this is the criteria that will evaluate all the article with the general comment and originality, relationship to the literature, how this article connect with the previous literature, okay, methodology, okay, does the article has explained the methodology, okay, and the methods employed appropriate. So this is the comment from the reviewers. The result. Okay, so our result presented clearly and analyzed appropriately. So this is the element that the reviewer will look into. Okay, and then the implication for the research. So this is very important. Sometimes we like when we complete the discussion, we think everything is done, but actually on the conclusion, on the implication, it has to be shown clearly in the article, because this is the element that the reviewer will look into, and especially if you submit to the Emerald Journal, because this is the structured comment that are required from the reviewer towards article. Okay, the quality of communication, which is about the English. Okay, so but there are certain journals which are not having this structured evaluation, so it depends on the reviewer what the reviewer want to give a comment. So usually, being the reviewer, we also like try to give the perspective within this scope, even though the journal do not require us to give the comment based on the structured comment. So now, when we get the feedback from the journal, so either the article being accepted, first we are so happy. Okay, we are so happy, especially if we do not need to do any major or any revision except that, like checking the spelling, checking the references and everything. Okay? And when the journal accept, and then they will give us the copyright transfer, then they may ask us to check the copy editing or the proofreading, then the article will be published. If the decision from the journal is minor correction, we have to do the revision or revisions, meaning we do one round revision, we submit, the journal we send to the reviewer satisfied, then that's it. But if we submit to the reviewer, to the journal submit to the reviewer still not satisfied, there will be another round of revision. And if we are being required to do major correction, we do the revision and we have to submit. So it will be a long process. Okay? And if the article being rejected, take your time to be sad, but understand this is the process. Accept it positively, to be revised based on the comment from the reviewer, and then submit to another journal. Don't submit to the same journal, we try another journal. And here we go for the similar process. Okay, so this, I think that's all. So this is my Scopus ID. So like I mentioned earlier, when you publish in Scopus, you may get connection with other scholars they will cite you, and it will increase the H index. Even though at the beginning is not my intention, okay, I do not know about H index. It's nothing that I'm aiming on the H index. It's more on the publication, but organically it become it grow. Okay, so the H index is increasing. So this is my Pablo's ID. And this is the article that I mentioned earlier, which is about the financing universities through wakaf Pious endowment, is it possible? So we did contact Prof. Murad Chizapka when we want to do this research. Because we want to collect data in Turkey, we do not know which university we want to go, because when we search back then, most of the information that we can access are in Turkish language. So we are not quite sure which university that we should visit. So we met Prof. Murad Chizapka, who was at INSEP back then. So he advised us, give us the information, then we go and collect data. The university that he suggested, and from this research, financing universities to wakaf pious endowment, is it possible? I do research with Professor Madia, Dr. Siti Mashita Mahmud. She is my mentor. And then this is, the article then being cited, and Emerald has awarded us with outstanding paper for this article. So it's like increase the confidence that our work is actually being recognized internationally. So it begins with a humble starting at the beginning as a young lecturer, and then it's developing. Okay, so I think that's all from me. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, terima kasih kepada Profesor Madia Dr. Asma di atas perkongsian sebentar tadi. Kita ada beberapa soalan di bahagian ruangan chat box. Saya bacakan Prof. Okey, soalan pertama datang daripada saudara Zaki Zainuddin. Soalannya, my article are related to akidah and apostasy issue. So which journal are suitable for this topic? Silakan Prof.
Okay, so I think you have to do the process because it's not my area. Okay? You can go to the Scopus database and check which journal that has published article relating to your article. If I can I share this? I cannot share my screen. So can I share my screen? Sorry, I'm not quite familiar with WebEx. I'm not sure how to share my screen. But basically, you go to the Scopus website. You go to the Scopus website and you write you write the keyword in the Scopus website. Okay, like I said just now. Okay, this one. So here, you go to the Scopus website, and here you can type your keyword. Okay, so you may have an idea which journal has published the article relating to your article. But my humble suggestion is that you can try, like in UM, we have Jurnal Afkar. I think you heard about Jurnal Afkar, which is published by Department of Akidah dan Pemikiran. Their journal has been indexed by Scopus, so maybe you can try this journal. And another one is Journal of Religion. Okay, so this is an example of the journal that you can try. Okay, so that is not my expertise, so I cannot give more example, except that these two journals that I know. Sorry on that. Okay.
Okey, terima kasih Prof. Okey, soalan berikutnya daripada saudara Hadenan. In what level we can conclude an article to achieve the certain journal level?
What you mean?
I'm not really
What
sure,
you
but
mean?
maybe
Okay, maybe Dr. Hadina, you can
Yeah.
you can.
Dr. Hadenan, maybe you can open your microphone and ask your question direct to the speaker.
Assalamualaikum Prof.
Salam, apa khabar?
Alhamdulillah sehat. Ni nak tanya ni, kalau kita tulis artikel, nak pastikan artikel tu dah sampai merit satu jurnal tu, macam mana kita nak tahu bahawa benda tu dah sampai merit tu?
So first, we read the articles in that journal. So when we read the articles in that journal, when we look at the example, okay, So we know that when we want to write our own article, okay, we try to follow what has been written by other scholars. Okay, so for me itu je cara saya. Other than that is, of course, we ask our friend or our co-authors to read again and again to check either it has meet that requirement, because we are dealing with subjective, right? It's subjective matter. It's subjective matter. So you don't have a formula that 1 + 1 is 2, right? So this is subjective. Okay. So a way of looking into this is by reading others' article in that journal. So cuba ikut, okay, direction and also the way that other scholars have written their conclusion macam tu. Tapi usually dia akan ada selalunya what is our unique, because in conclusion the reviewer is looking for either the conclusion can be generalized for international reader to get benefit. So for example, we do our research in Sarawak. So we cannot conclude our conclusion within the Sarawak setting. It should reflect how international reader also can benefit from our research. Itu yang kita kata ada international flavor di situ. Because the element of generalization for international reader. Okay, so I think that's the way that I've been doing.
Okay.
Can I ask question?
Ya, silakan.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Saya nak tanya, this is regarding actually our research interest. Kan memang kita ada influencers, like say kita ada Islamic banking, Sharia compliance, ya. So research interest ni macam kadang it's not specifically in that particular area of katakan dalam Islamic banking. It could be sometimes kita ada area dalam supply chain ke. Kan, contohlah, saya bagi contoh je. Jadi kalau macam kita nak tulis paper, sometimes kita boleh tulis dalam area Islamic banking. But we also need to write on that supply chain, supply chain. Contohnya kita green supply chain. Green supply chain. So how should we represent our research interest so that we do not deviate, macam Prof cakap tadi lah, kalau kita tulis dalam area Islamic banking, we should our professorship should be in that manner, isn't it?
Yeah, but it does not mean that you cannot combine Islamic banking with supply chain. It become multidisciplinary research. It have more potential, because when we say that Islamic banking, it can be seen from broader perspective. It's not only just like we are talking about the contract, about the product, but how the Islamic banking link with other discipline. Okay, so meaning developing the substance of Islamic banking, yes, but we combine this with other area of studies. Okay, and this is how, I mean, the way that we are developing our scholarship. So it does not mean that you cannot combine with other discipline. The combination is good because it will become a multidisciplinary research. It will give flavor to the article because now the article have different perspective, but Islamic banking still been the main concern on this. So that's why I think it's on how, I would say also that when we do a research, it's about our innovation and our creativity on how to present our ideas with not leaving the substance of our scholarship, but then with new perspective by adding other discipline or other aspect of research. It will become more flavor to the research.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okey, terima kasih. Satu lagi soalan daripada saudara Hanan. Saudara Hanan ada minta pandangan Prof berkenaan dengan Jurnal Islamic Studies.
Is it by Oxford Scopus?
Yes, Oxford Centre for Islamic Studies.
So I have tried but unsuccess. Okay, so so I cannot give any suggestion on this because I know that for Islamic studies, I think most of the article that been published, the approach is more on very I would say philosophical approach. I mean, because the discussion is more like more philosophical approach, okay, whereby the journal that I have experience in publishing is more like the journal that have more specific structure, which is need your data, your analysis, your research method. For Islamic study, I have tried but unsuccess. So I do not try after that. So maybe Dr. Hadinan, you can try, and when you success in making yourself one of the author in the Islamic Studies of Oxford Journal, maybe then all of us can learn from your experience after this. Okay, but I mean, when I say that I am not successful, I mean, maybe I'm not put an effort enough on this. So maybe you can try and also study and try to prepare the article accordingly. Another journal that I also, my dream journal is Al-Masak. Al-Masak. Have you ever heard about this journal? This Scopus and also WOS. Al-Masak. Okay, ALMASAQ. Because Al-Masak, I think they publish like about hadith and also about the history, and the article will deal with the aspect of conceptual, philosophical, of Islamic study and everything. Yes, because I read one journal, one article journal mentioning that actually article that is more there is conceptual article is quite more difficult to be published. So Al-Masa is this kind of journal. But there was one Malaysian that has published in this journal in Al-Masa. So I salute that he can publish in this journal because this is one of my dream journal, but I do not know either I have the possibility, okay, to go and publish in this journal, Al-Masa. Okay.
Okay, terima kasih Prof. So maybe we can take one last question from the participants. Anyone, if you have any question, you can switch on your microphone and ask question to the speaker. Anyone? Okay, Prof, usually how long does it take for a manuscript to be evaluated? Because there are some of journal that takes time to give a feedback.
It
Biasa.
depends on the reviewers. It depends on the reviewers actually, because if the reviewers give feedback early, then you may get the result early. And I think nowadays we don't have to wait a long time like previously when we only submit the article through email, because everything in the platform and the journal, like most of the journal, they have a policy that when they assign one reviewer, the reviewer will given like a few weeks, and if we do not respond to the journal, like first we say okay, we accept the invitation to review the article, but then we forget, or I mean because many other tasks, then we miss the deadline. So the journal will send us another notification, and then if we still do not deliver the reviews, then the journal will assign another reviewer. I think now quite not so long when we have to wait for the decision from the journal. But I think one year, I mean, because even though when we have been accepted to get published, still we have to wait for our turn. For example, there are another process that has to be done. Okay, but certain journal is quite fast. But I think most of my experience it will be 1 year. Like one article now being accepted in the Journal of Economic Accounting and Business Research, we submit in February. In May, we get the feedback that we have to do minor correction. And then after that, we have to do many corrections because of the journal do not satisfy with the English editing. Like we had to submit to English editor for like 4 or 5 times. And my English editor said then, I'm not sure which part that I need to edit anymore because I look everything is okay. Like to that stage, my English editor said, I do not know what else that have to be edited. Okay. So then we submit and the article to the journal, and then now it being accepted. So we submit in February, now September, because that was a minor correction. So we have signed the copyright transfer, and now journal in the process of preparing the manuscript for copy editing. So it's 1 year. And for the previous journal article that I share on Wakaf for Higher Education in Pakistan. So this is from our research actually. So I think this one, not this one. So I think this one take like 1 year and a half. Okay, this one 1 year and a half, I think. Okay, it's being accepted in year 2019. We do the revision and then, yeah, I think in 2019, end of 2020, it being published as early sci, and 2021 it officially being published in the journal. Okay, so you see here that we put all the acknowledgement, okay, for the research grant that we get, because this research is from the LRDS research grant.
Okey, terima kasih banyak Prof di atas perkongsian Prof sebentar tadi. Okey, saya kira kita sudah berada di penghujung webinar. Okey, terima kasih banyak Prof, Profesor Madya Dr. Asma. Terima kasih kerana bersama kami. Okey, terima kasih juga diucapkan kepada semua peserta webinar yang berada bersama kita daripada awal sehingga ke akhir webinar. Terima kasih juga kepada komen-komen yang boleh dibaca di ruangan komen daripada saudara Ayub bin Musa. Terima kasih. Okey, sekadar ingin mengingatkan kepada semua peserta webinar, tuan-puan boleh mengisi link pendaftaran yang telah diletakkan di bahagian ruangan komen untuk mendapatkan e-sijil dan juga jam latihan khusus untuk kaki tangan UiTM. Okey, jadi terima kasih saya ucapkan juga kepada semua jawatan kuasa program yang diketuai oleh Dr. Muhammad Zaim dan juga Ustaz Muhammad Zaki selaku KPP Asis UiTM Cawangan Johor di atas usaha untuk menjayakan webinar kali ini. Dan sebelum mengakhiri majlis, saya Syaimah Ismail mewakili jawatan kuasa Asis UiTM Cawangan Johor memohon maaf kepada semua peserta sekiranya terdapat kekurangan pada program kali ini, dan sebarang cadangan penambahbaikan tuan-puan boleh tinggalkan komen dalam ruangan Google Form yang di-attach sekali dengan link kehadiran. Okey. Jadi kalau tak ada apa-apa, saya tutup majlis kita pada petang ini dengan bacaan tasbih kafarah dan suratul Asr. Subhanakallahumma asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaih. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa allazina amanu wa 'amilus solihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Semoga berjumpa lagi pada masa akan datang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.